Our thoughts are like a river. They're always flowing. There are stats that say our brains go through, on average, 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. And here's the wild part. About 80% of those thoughts are negative, and 95% of them are repetitive. Even crazier, these thoughts aren't really watching themselves. It's actually us who observe them. But over time, we merge with our thoughts. That little voice in our head starts to feel like it's us, our true self, when it really isn't. That's why a single negative thought can ruin your entire day. We quickly take that thought as who we are, and suddenly it feels like our identity is shaped by it. Like, if a thought pops up saying, "You're not enough," and we believe it's true, our confidence crashes and our behavior changes. Psychologists call this phenomenon cognitive fusion. That's when you become so fused with your thoughts that you can't tell if you're thinking them or they're thinking you. And when that happens, we take every thought seriously, treating them as facts. Unfortunately, repeated thoughts stick in our brains over time. But what if I told you that the voice narrating your life, judging your actions, and trapping you in cycles of negative thinking isn't really your voice at all? Sounds unbelievable, right? But neuroscientists say this is exactly how it works. Our mind is like a memory archive, conditioned by what it has experienced. Repeated thoughts build stronger neural pathways, turning them into habits. That's why we react more strongly to negative thoughts. It's totally natural. Our ancestors had to be hyper-aware of danger to survive. Positive thoughts didn't get the same attention because ignoring danger could have gotten them extinct. So yes, stress or negative thoughts have a stronger impact than good ones. But just because a thought pops up doesn't mean it's true. Most of the inner voices we hear are actually reflections of how we were raised. We grow up listening to the outside world, not our inner selves. Now that we understand where negative thoughts come from and that we're not our thoughts, how do we deal with these pesky mental interruptions? In Buddhist thinking, there's this concept: you can't stop the wave, but you can learn to surf. You don't need to eliminate your thoughts to be free. You just don't merge with them. Freedom is seeing your thoughts for what they are, not identifying with them. So if these thoughts aren't really us, then who are we? Later, we'll explore where these voices come from, how they're formed, and a method called cognitive diffusion to separate ourselves from negative thoughts. The answer will completely change how you see yourself. Let's go back to the start, our childhood, before these voices existed, before expectations, fears, or that loud inner commentary. Back then, we were just ourselves, living in the present moment without constantly questioning or worrying. Our minds weren't conditioned by the world yet, but as we grew, parents, teachers, friends, and society shaped our brains. Like a child constantly criticized, over time an inner voice forms. You're not enough. Or a kid always told to be careful develops a voice that says, "Don't risk it, it's dangerous." These voices start outside but are repeated so much that they become part of our inner thoughts. And eventually, they feel like us. Sigmund Freud called this the ego. The part of our conscience that tells us what we should or shouldn't do, keeping us aligned with society. But sometimes it becomes a mental prison. Carl Jung talked about the persona, the mask we show the world, and the shadow, our suppressed inner self. Negative, worrisome thoughts often come from this shadow, creating cycles of rumination. These voices tell us how to behave, what to fear, what to avoid, like a parrot repeating negative phrases. Does the parrot really believe them? No, it just repeats. But our brains treat it as real because it's conditioned. Rumination and negative thoughts may seem separate, but together they form a harmful cycle. Many thoughts are repetitive and negative, so naturally, we fall into rumination, nurturing negative thinking. We even imagine impossible or ridiculous scenarios. The solution recommended by thinkers is simple. Observe your thoughts. Create a distance between your inner voice and your real self. Instead of merging with your thoughts, watch them from afar, like sitting by a window, watching a storm outside instead of being caught in it. Step 1. Recognize that if you can see your thoughts, they aren't your true self. This alone is powerful in controlling thoughts and ignoring negativity. When we become observers instead of victims of our mind, we step into deeper awareness. Ram Dass, author of Be Here Now, says the mind is like a crazy monkey jumping from branch to branch, but if you stop chasing it, you'll realize you are not that monkey. Now, how many of the negative thoughts, stress, and worries we experience daily actually come from that inner voice? If these thoughts are conditioned reactions, how do we control them? First, we need to raise our perspective. See the bigger picture. You can't change what you can't see. No, we're not trying to delete negative thoughts. They're necessary for the brain. We just need the skill to watch them without merging. Ancient practices like meditation do exactly that. You don't control your thoughts, you just watch. Imagine sitting by a busy highway with each car representing a thought. Different colors, different shapes, all passing by. You observe, but don't jump in. Step 2. Writing your thoughts. Psychologists call this cognitive diffusion. You reframe your thoughts and ask questions. If your mind says, "I'm not enough," you say, "Oh, my mind is thinking I'm not enough." See the difference? One gives the thought identity, the other just observes. This stops us from taking every ridiculous or negative thought seriously. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're in a group and worry about embarrassing yourself. Ask, whose voice is this? Mine, my mom's, my teacher's, or that success coach I follow? If someone else made a mistake, would I care as much? Usually, we're harsher on ourselves than others. Am I living this thought or using it to learn? Is it helping me grow or just beating me up? These questions help you analyze your worries and identify the source. With consistent practice over 2 weeks, you can start distinguishing your true thoughts from conditioned beliefs. And it's not just for negative thoughts. Sometimes our motivations or goals are influenced by others, not ourselves. Once you start practicing this consistently, something amazing happens. You realize that thoughts are just events in your mind, not facts or commands. You start choosing where to put your energy instead of being dragged around by every worry or self-doubt. Life becomes lighter because you're no longer living in reaction mode. You're observing, learning, and growing. Negative thoughts are major energy drainers, but not the only ones. Here's a mind map of this video. If you liked it, share it with your friends and leave a comment. Thanks for being our endless source of encouragement.